Hello friends, as we promised as Cia-Glocal Venture Llp to give you industry insight twice a month through our videos. This is our first video for December. Let's introduce Mr. Alok Sapre, our CMD and infra industry expert. Hello Mr. Sapre, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Mr. Sapre, please put some light on the current scenario for infrastructure industry with positive and negatives.
Okay, let me first say infrastructure. I would say it is entire construction or facility what government creates for public benefit. Either it could be transportation of highway, roads, bridges, or maybe railways. It could be energy, it could be real estate segment. In terms of provisioning, government has given enough budget of 70 billion US dollar for the current budget year, which shows huge thrust on the segment. Government also, because of its reforms, is bringing in a lot of changes in image of India outside, and FDI, the way it has come in previous year, was around 10 billion US dollar. It has also gone up in terms of ranking of Indian ease to do business from 130 to 100, which is a big climb up. In terms of logistic index base, India has climbed up around 25 base points, which shows a huge journey. So these are very big positives in terms of positivity of Indian market and its scenario. Now, if you see the allocation, it really reconciles with government's agenda of pushing the progress. Also, declarations of new projects are quite positive, and solar industry has brought in a lot of momentum for inputs to the government. Positives, these were the high positives. Negatives, I would say maybe what has happened last few years because of BOT era. The investments have gone bad, and subcontractors have tried to become developers, I would say, skeptically, and that is where I think the undoing of industry happened. And maybe around $130 million worth of NPA, out of which maybe 50% would be from infrastructure industry itself, is bringing in a lot of pressure on development.
Okay, as we understand, there is a problem in the industry. What could be the reason?
I think it's a very broad question to be answered, but yes, the problem when I say number one is NPA, which is really impacting today, and now even the companies, 60% of the companies who are in the business are in the red books, particularly in terms of its growth. A lot of companies are on the fringe of getting maybe wiped off. NCLT is a new provision where banks are very strict and they are invoking NCLT clauses for insolvency and bankruptcy, which is going to decide fate of companies. So these are the areas where I would say the problem lies with, and promoters have not helped industry in terms of their own organizations. Industries have not really improved internally. I always say set your house in order. So leaving few companies apart, most of the companies are governed by own management or family management, and these are the areas where we see the knowledge or technology is disregarded, and mainly we go by hearsay, and the risk perception is very poor in Indian market. We know the risk, but we don't want to accept it as a risk. This is where exactly the problems are coming in. So I would say these are the areas where companies should work. They should give more delegation to the talent. They should give space to the talent to really come off their own, and being more professional, more ethical is a requirement today.
Okay. Do you see any major impact of demonetization, GST and RERA?
Yeah, these are the reforms which government has introduced in last maybe more than 1 year. And yes, there have been impact, because any disruption you bring in will always have a temporary negative phase of it and then positives. Demonetization, I would say, is more of changing your habits in terms of using cash or not using cash. We have seen companies who are of standard or who maintain the probity, they have always been transacting in through bank accounts or checks, except maybe some labor portion or some small vendors. But I think that's again part of, as I said, inculcating a new habit, and companies are adopting to it faster. GST maybe is a big impact, because yes, there are multiple credit and counter credits in infrastructure with the vendor base, and this is one area where the confusions were quite large, maybe for a longer period. But now I think companies are overcoming, and maybe I see there is a traction in the economy and things are improving. RERA, I would say, is the biggest reform in terms of bringing in transparency in real estate sector, and this reform is the most, I would say, long-term impact in terms of going to be on Indian industry, the way we see. And investors would be attracted to this reform a lot in future, provided our developers, they understand the thing quicker and better. And even state governments who try to tweak, I think courts have stepped in, and like recent High Court judgment of High Court has been very encouraging to bring in the reform.
Okay, today's last question. Mr. Sapre, a very prominent question. Do you see major role of senior pro in reforming the industry?
I think it's a very interesting and good question, because I always believe, like a sports team, like we are a cricket crazy nation, and IPL, Indian Premier League, what we do, we bring in 4 foreign players who are experts in their own domain, either batting, bowling, or all-rounder in terms of their game. And then there is iconic player from local team, and then there are new players who are fringe players who are talent, but they need to be groomed. And this team is under a coach who is another professional, and this entire team blends as a unit, and they show success. They fight out, they understand, they plan. I think it's a big game with when you bring in pro. You see global football, Lionel Messi go to a European club, or Ronaldo goes to a European club and brings in a lot of changes. I think this is what we need in Indian industry today. We have to bring in senior pro, and hello, don't miss me, I'm also one of them. So yes, we have weathered the storm, we have seen the scenario changing, we know the regulations, we know the international scenario. I think we can bring in a lot of impartiality to the management and bring in a lot of value, provided the Indian companies, they understand, they put their house in order, they use professional knowledge and experience. And what is independent director? If you see the way government or corporate governance is pushing independent director, it is the same concept. Who is not related to the family, not related to the company, not part of any relation to the company, but he brings in as an independent expert. He gives his own value and ethics to the board, and he tries to change the culture of the company. So I would say it's a huge concept, and if suppose India comes alive to this concept, we will do a lot good than what we are doing today.
Thank you, Mr. Sapre, for your time. I think we have answered all the questions of our viewers. For further questions, please write us at assistance@cia-glocal.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to be contacted on the same email ID, assistance@cia-glocal.com, and do write to us, and let's make it big. Thank you.